Yeah, you heard me. I peaked when I was 12 years old. I was my most passionate, my most confident, my most disciplined self, and I've been trying to chase that person I used to be for a decade now. And I think I finally had a breakthrough. Let me provide you with the necessary context for this tale. I was a very sporty kid growing up, my favorite sport being soccer. And when I was 11, I met a boy, let's call him Pablo,
It's easy, you're.
at a park playing with a soccer ball alone. And we instantly became friends. We both had a passion for soccer, and over the next year, we trained together constantly until we became far and away the best in the school. And with athletic talent came respect, admiration, and girls, especially at that age.
You fancy 8-year-olds? No, Neil. Our families are friends. We were both 8.
Yeah, but you still fancied an 8-year-old.
But this isn't the reason it was the best time in my life. The reason is that my intrinsic motivation and my goals were completely aligned. And so the things that I had to do to be confident, to be respected, to be admired, was the only thing I ever really wanted to do. But as I've alluded to, this isn't a happily ever after story. I was swiftly dropped from my prestigious football team at 14 years of age, and I don't think I ever really got over that. My spirit was crushed, and with it, my dream of going pro. But without soccer, I was aimless. I didn't have any other goals in life. In fact, I vividly remember laughing at the fact that people had academic goals back then, which is funny looking back on as a bartender.
PTSD alert, post-traumatic Down syndrome.
And I was 14, so I just started getting into things like porn and YouTube, with Alpha M telling me that I needed these 4 V-neck sweaters to get spicy senoritas. Suffice it to say, I remained a virgin for a long time. And as I continued to waste my days away rotting in my bedroom, I became more and more introverted until the boy I once was completely gone. Over the course of high school, I experimented with other things like drugs and such, all to no avail. You know, nothing could really fill that void that soccer had left in my life. And I tried other things, you know, I tried other hobbies, and there was periods of time where I had interest and stuff, but I couldn't seem to motivate myself the same way I used to. You know, I used to stay at the park for like 6 hours with Pablo, with nothing but a ball. And now I can't seem to sit down for more than 10 minutes without losing focus. What went wrong? Like, what am I missing? Play, people, and power. I recently read a book by fellow YouTuber, yes, fellow, Ali Abdaal, called Feel Good Productivity. And it's all about getting over the emotional hurdles of getting shit done. And he talks about the 3 energizers in relation to work: power, people, and play. And after some reflection, I've found these embedded in my own journey all those years ago. And I think I've unlocked the formula of how to implement them into any pursuit going forward successfully. Play. Ali says that play is the key to making your work feel effortless and unlocking your creative potential from the shackles of perfectionism and fear of failure. This all seemed pretty straightforward when I read it, but I seemed to miss the point completely when I started this YouTube channel. I pretty much immediately turned this into a job by trying to systemize everything and squeeze the last bit of efficiency out of every single part of the process, instead of just learning to enjoy it. And I did this without realizing, because of how much pressure I put on myself to succeed. My fear of failure just took over. But recently, I was thinking back to my old self once again, like an old detective taking a stab at a cold case he just can't let go of. And I realized something. I realized whenever I would think back to that time, I'd only ever think back to my prime, when I was in the depths of my obsession, and doing the 6-hour practices and laying the bulletproof game on the baddies. And so I would compare my work ethic of today with that kid in his bag and fail to see the whole picture. You see, I started playing soccer when I was 5. That means I spent 6 years in play before I started taking soccer seriously. 6 years. Most people, when we start something new, we want to get good at it as fast as possible. And so we think the only way I can try out a new pursuit, a new hobby, a new whatever, is if I put everything aside for 6 months and I just put all my energy and focus into it and I disappear off the face of the earth and then come back a beast. This is born out of insecurity, of being seen as a beginner. as an amateur. So when I think back to that time of training every day, yes, it's true I was in play, but I like to think of it now as like late stage play. Play in its final form. But what I should really be comparing myself now to is the little kid in his front garden playing against his mom, having a blast, 15 minutes at a time. So in that vein, I've decided to take the pressure off and go back to treating this as just a hobby, because in the long run, it's much more productive for me to not take it quite as seriously right now, maybe not produce as much, in order to nurture that passion that once developed will allow me to work harder than I ever thought possible. Just like those 6-hour days in summer heat with nothing but a ball and a friend. Which leads me to the second energizer, people. If play is the foundation of productivity, people is like the turbo booster. When I met Pablo that day 11 years ago, my life changed forever. I never would have made the team, dated the girls, found myself without meeting him. However, don't make the mistake of, oh, I can't start this thing until I find the right person. You don't find the right person. When the time is right, you will attract them. If I had waited to start my soccer journey until I met the right person, then that day that I met Pablo, our lives would have gone right by each other, because I wouldn't have been in the right place to make a connection. Passion attracts passion. Talent attracts talent. Hard work attracts a hard worker. And when the time is right, the right person will find you. Finally, we have power. The power to set your schedule. The power to name your price. The power to do what you want. This is the most intoxicating of the three energizers, and the one most people try and start with. We choose to take the fun out of our passions in order to make it a living, yet the whole reason we wanted to make it a living in the first place was to avoid just working another job. Can you imagine if when I first started playing soccer, I decided to commit my entire life to it, and I tried to go pro as fast as possible, and forced myself to train 6-hour days? I would have quit soccer altogether. So be patient and take it one step at a time, with the goal always being to nurture that inner fire, instead of sucking all the oxygen out with obsessive optimization until it extinguishes forever.